All right.
It's like,
On? Nope, nothing. And does it have?
on now. Hello, hello, hello.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, on now.
button on the bottom?
Hello, hello.
You're on.
Hello?
Yeah, they're on now. Just read it.
No, I don't think I'm there.
Just hit the button. Yep, it's on.
I did.
I'll help you in 1 minute, Natalie. Give me one second.
Oh, okay. Maybe it is on.
Get this on. All right, because I have people that are.
I heard it that idea.
Yes.
You got it?
If I put it to the on.
Switch it.
It's on now.
It's on now?
Oh, it's not plugged.
Mine I had to turn on and off.
I heard it.
Oh, you did. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, that's okay.
I think it is.
Okay,
Hello? Hello? You hear me?
let's try this one.
It's not working.
There you go. It's your turn.
I can, yeah, that's
Here.
No. Yep.
all right.
That one better? Oh, sorry.
For today? Oh, that you heard. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
something wrong with that microphone. I just want to make a note that Council Member Lynch is here. He wasn't here for the roll call.
Oh,
Make,
okay.
just want to make it do it all.
Getting back to our meeting agenda, I asked our Mr. Shortway and Mr. Fury be prepared to discuss this item. It had been brought to my attention earlier this year, much earlier, and seemed like a good idea. One of the things that's evergreen in our concerns is how do we get more effluent running through our sewer pipes so that we can get credit for it to reduce the deficit that we run on. And this seemed to be a good way of at least beginning to resolve that concern. And perhaps. Thank you. Perhaps Harry.
I could,
Sorry, Mike, you
I could speak to it.
speak to this?
Yeah, so it is a good idea. And this idea has been discussed for quite some time. Like you say, Pat, you need to, the sewer system needs more users. And the thinking is it possible to encourage septic hauling or septic, what we call a transfer station. And it's been spoken about at the MUA level, when they put the pump station in, there's a possibility that they can also install a transfer station that would be able to receive septic from residential areas. It's really important to note that it would have to be only residential areas. And so one of the things that we would have to consider is if, and this was brought up years ago, whether there'd be some kind of requirement to do septic cleaning. And there are a lot of, lake communities, municipalities who have ordinances in place to make a requirement, whether it's once every 3 years, once every 5 years, but to make it mandatory to clean your septic. So, and a lot of the reasons why that is in place is to, especially in lake community areas where, so they would prevent septic systems from failing. And then that septic can discharge into the lake and cause all kinds of, water quality problems for the lake communities. So it's especially helpful for lake communities. So, if you were to, so that would be one of the requirements you have to make is you have to make it some sort of requirement. And then also to, at the same time, and the MUA, and I know the MUA is looking at this because they've been looking at it for a couple of years. They have a individual group within the MUA looking at this particular issue, whether we can, provide some kind of service like this under the MUA. Meaning, the MUA would manage the process, would manage the septic haulers. They would do it all above board. It would be under contract. And the benefit would be the residents can benefit from maybe a less costly to do the hauling, it'd be less costly. To also help the MUA and then also help the township provide some sort of service. Most likely would have to be part of the MUA, under the MUA's jurisdiction. That makes sense?
I have something with this, Council President.
Sure.
I spoke with some of the people from the Highland Lakes Country Club community. And they've been trying to get a hold of somebody at the MUA. They left 3 messages. And
I actually spoke to somebody.
Ray Zimmerman?
Yeah, I talked.
Okay, that's, forget it. It's all taken care of.
I
Spoke to him.
Well, I talked to Ray Zimmerman and Highland Lakes is considering a local lake requirement to do septic cleaning. I don't know how often,
If we could zero in and try to work with them with this, it's the same thing.
same thing.
It's the same thing.
It'd be townwide.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Highland Lakes.
And Highland Lakes is making it a requirement for their community.
Yeah.
They're in the process of doing that, where you got to get your septic pump once every 5 years or whatever their,
And
and
impetus for that is, the reason for that is, if anybody saw the news, on Lake Apacon closed beaches in Lake Apacon because they had, algae blooms,
Yeah.
hazardous algae blooms, and they closed parts of the lake. And it has a significant impact. And so that's what their rationale is, Highland Lakes. He did talk to me and said, would this be, would this some kind of requirement? Is it possible to make this for township wide? So that's something that I need to discuss and vet it out.
So would
Mr.
you,
Sherwood, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry, would you have to commit to a specific septic company? How would that work?
No, the MUA would essentially take on the responsibility, go out to bid for septic hauling, do it
So
all.
the MUA would provide the service
They would provide the service because they,
and then the homeowners pay the MUA.
correct.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President. We would have to do this in steps. West Milford has the ordinance. Lake Wallkill already has a part of their rules. Eventually, this helps the homeowner, because if their field goes bad, we all know that could be anywhere from 20 to 40,000.
easily,
So we would need to do the ordinance. We could talk to Lake Wallkill, maybe Highland Lakes, if they haven't have already talked to Lake Wallkill. There are 2 trends of thought here. Having a transporter carrier transporting waste into West Milford, into Vernon at the transfer station. That was one proposal. The other is the one that I favored and put forth is what Mike's saying. We do with essentially, we're putting the whole town into our transfer station by cleaning out their septics. Now, there is concerns here, and here we would have to have legal counsel look at it. When you look at the 2005 SCUMA agreement with the township, it's in Article 3, Section 303, where it says the only waste that can be accepted is from the sewer service area of Vernon. So we would have to also enter a negotiation with SCUMA. Would they accept wastewater from all our residents? Now, where we were looking like everybody would be winners is you'd put out the RFP to answer your question, the MUA. You might have 2 vendors, I don't know, 3 vendors, whatever they
We'll have
decide.
a lot of vendors.
They would have a reduced rate because of transportation. We all know what gasoline and diesel costs today. They could save here if they're just making a short trip right to our transfer station. The homeowner would save, because hopefully this RFP, say they're saving $25 or $50 on getting their tank cleaned.
Mm.
the town makes up, because when they pay us, we're making up for that shortfall of about 200,000 gallons per day. I don't see where anybody loses if we all work together, get the ordinance passed, really have to do a great job marketing to the town. This works in your favor because you don't want your septic to go bad. We don't want it leaking into the lakes. We don't want these algae blooms, et cetera. So there'd be a lot of steps, but I think the first step we have to do is have legal counsel see if that interpretation of Article 3 in that 2005 agreement is correct. Do we have to change that, enter into negotiation with SCUMA? We also have to pass that ordinance to get this ball rolling. And perhaps we're going to have someone do a study. Is this going to be cost effective all the way down the line? Before we say to the residents, you're going to, your permit will be $1 or nothing just to keep a record of it. We're not trying to give extra expense to homeowners. We want to save them money. I just don't see where we lose anywhere on this. I don't know where the loss is.
Yeah, and I think if you direct the MUA to, essentially do the study and examine it and look at all the options and, how it's all gonna work, that's the logical entity that's gonna happen. And the fact of the matter, they are already looking at it and they, but look at it, in a more serious way. Because it does, they're building a pump station. A transfer station has to be also, they're in the process of building a pump station. They would have to, do some research, whether they'd have to get permits to do a transfer station and how. Because there are, if it's residential, it's okay. If it's like commercial or like restaurants and things that the waste is a lot different, the composition is different, that you may have to put some treatment in there, which might be pretty expensive. But if it's limited to residential septic and you're very specific about that, then it could be, it actually happen.
See, I wouldn't want to accept waste from outside our borders because we don't know if it's commercial in there, addressing what Mike's concern.
Right, yeah.
Are we getting the chemicals? Do we really want to have additional costs? But pretty much residential wastewater is residential wastewater. They don't have the grease traps and items like that.
Now, you mentioned that the MUA was working on this. Were they working on this with haulers in terms of buying septic trucks themselves?
No, they were
Just going out and,
going to bid
Okay.
for septic haulers. They weren't going to get in the septic.
You weren't getting
a septic
You
truck.
could do this with just one company. You would need at least 6 companies. to do
Well,
something
the
like
size of the town, there's going to have to be
Absolutely.
some type of,
Might have to do
Sure.
with multiple companies.
oh, absolutely.
Your option is to, you do it yourself under the MUA, and buy a septic tanker, which you can do that, or you contract with vendors who do haul it.
And I believe you first have to look at how many residential homes there are that aren't on the sewer service area. What is the average septic tank? Is it 1,000? So, what are the costs? And then would we actually make up how many additional EDUs are we putting into that system? I believe it's going to be all right, but you're going to have maybe the engineer or somebody sit down and really work out the numbers because the devil's always in the details, right? And if we do this, we have to cross the Ts and dot the Is before we go forward.
Yeah, and in fact, if you could do this on a township wide, like every resident's gonna save money on, and then in turn, they'll encourage them to do it more often and they'll be more conscious. They'll be conscientious.
I definitely want to see the savings passed down to the resident.
Well, that's,
That's the whole basis.
Yeah.
Because it would be against everything that we're doing, why would anybody want to pay more for the same thing that they have?
less.
Yes, exactly, yes.
You will pay.
And then in the long run, there's a savings because we increase our usage.
Correct.
Yeah, I believe there's probably about 8,600 dwellings in the township and probably about 1,700 are probably condos or townhouses, right? Or on the sewer service area. And I'm just talking round numbers and guess that it might be about 7,000 homes. But we would need the tax assessor and everybody to work with that to come up with those numbers and work with the CFO. Will this suffice and study it? So probably would have to go to the engineer also to see if we can generate this.
Yeah. The good news is they are looking at it, so you just direct the MUA to continue looking at it and maybe issue a report back to the council on how they want it, what direction they want to take.
So can we make it a point to get this information?
Sure,
All
absolutely.
right, and then,
You want a subcommittee?
no, why don't we have,
I'll be glad.
since would you be willing?
I'd be glad.
I'll be glad.
Work with Mike?
I'll be glad.
That way you can begin to
Okay,
flesh this out.
so to speak.
I said, yeah, I said,
Okay.
a great one for fun. But,
Ed
at some
Sullivan
point,
show
we
here tonight.
would like to begin to move forward on this, where we could give
I-
mayor some
yeah.
direction in terms of what to do in terms of, interviewing potential haulers, seeing what kind of savings we can do. I think we can also begin to tie in notices, within the MUA to try and move this forward, set some type of priorities. So, perhaps the older homes first and that type of thing. Are there any other comments, questions?
Mr. Council President,
Certainly.
just as Councilman Fury said, we had been looking at that.
I understand.
And the three key issues are, number one, agreement with SCUMA.
Yeah.
Got to see how that's going to work. And number two would be the actual cost of putting in a transfer station. What that would have. And I guess the third one would be, there would be some individuals who just put in new septic tanks. We might have to consider grandfathering them in or doing something of that nature, in terms of passing an ordinance requiring everybody to get theirs pumped out. Those people would have already spent $20,000, $30,000 or $40,000. Just based on some of the questions that residents brought up to me, that might be kind of a concern from the public standpoint.
I would think pumping over a period of time,
5 years. Yeah,
5 years, is probably due.
Regardless if it's a new.
One or an old.
Yeah, right.
And the only other concern is, I would think would be the requirement for them to have to accede to the township's requirements that they begin to use these haulers and abide by the schedule.
Yeah.
If they can save money, why wouldn't they, right?
I agree.
They jump on it. The other concern I have is, are we gonna need a license from the DEP?
Well, there's a possibility with the transfer station that it has to be permitted.
Mhm.
That was, I'm pretty certain that was determined when we went into the design of the pump station. Because the most logical place to put it would be at the new pump station.
Right.
Which is on Sand Hill Road, because you have to design it, it has to be, you have to have all the trucks go in there. And they did, the DEP did mention that there's a possibility you'd have to be permitted. Because there's what they call pretreatment requirements, that if you discharge down to SCUMA, they have a right to know what they're receiving. So the DEP may require some permitting, but those discussions were done early on when the design of the pump station was done. So Dewberry is pretty aware of, what all the pitfalls and what may have to happen on the DEP. I don't think they were adverse to it. You'd have to go through a permitting process. It's just like you had to go to a permitting process to build a pump station. Transfer station would have to have a permit too.
In the end, it will help the environment. We did look at pump station number 3, but you can't get trucks in and out of there on 94. So we were looking at the new station where it's going. There'll be ample room for a trailer to turn around.
It's already in the design.
So did you say West Milford already has this?
They have an ordinance.
They have an ordinance.
West Milford has an ordinance
they have an ordinance.
requiring that they're,
Yeah, there's most, because they have, and I believe Lake Apacon may have one too, but I'm not. I know West Milford has.
West Milford has one. So so in that town, every home needs to,
Correct.
required to pump their
Correct.
tank within a certain time period.
But they do have that ordinance already.
So we can legally do that, obviously. So
Oh, yeah.
is there repercussions then, Josh?
Just the question is whether or not school would take it under their current contract.
That's the big question.
That's the.
That is the big question.
We'll see if we can work it out. Nothing else? Okay, we'll move on. It was to have been a presentation this evening. We were notified by the parties that the principal were not available had to be out of town on business. We are rescheduling this for the next meeting.
Thank you.
We have a review of our bills list. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
I don't have any.
I don't have any questions.
Negative.
No,
All right. Mayor's comments?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I will use my comments tonight to briefly share 4 items with our town's residents. Item 1 relates to an action that is just one small part of our continuous effort to look after those who once looked after us. Those, of course, being our senior citizens. As part of their ongoing efforts to make needed healthcare services as conveniently available as possible to our senior citizen population, Mrs. Michelle Downtain and our senior center supervisor, Mrs. Jane Damsford, have arranged for the Sussex County Office of Public Health Nursing to host a health clinic and blood pressure screening clinic for seniors at the Vernon Township Senior Center on August 17th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. At this important clinic, not only will blood pressure readings be taken and reported to the individual, information about blood pressure and what it means will also be provided. And if needed or desired, nurses will also follow up with the individual's healthcare provider. I encourage all seniors to take advantage of this important healthcare clinic. Item number 2, I'm pleased to report that the outstanding quality of our municipal personnel continues to bring more pride and earn more positive recognition for Vernon Township. On August the 3rd, I was informed that the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police had awarded certification status to Vernon Township Police Chief Dan Young. He received accreditation status as an accredited command executive chief of police. In achieving this command executive accreditation status, Chief Young joins a very select group of New Jersey law enforcement officials. In fact, only 33% of the state's police chiefs are accredited, and Chief Young is one of those 33%. In addition, only 29% of municipalities have certified command executives, and Chief Young is one of those 29%. Chief Young, a graduate of Vernon Township High School, started his law enforcement career in the year 2000. He rose through the ranks to become chief of our town's police department in 2019. He has earned a Bachelor of Science degree from William Patterson University and a master's degree from Fairleigh Dickinson University. Chief Young is also a graduate of the prestigious New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police Executive Institute and currently serves as the Sergeant at Arms for the Northern Region of the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police, as well as the president of the Sussex County Chiefs of Police Association. I want to say thank you again, Chief Young, for the positive recognition that you continue to bring to Vernon Township. We are proud and fortunate to have you as the leader of our town's law enforcement organization. Item 3. I want to ensure the public that I am ever conscious of the fact that moving Vernon forward means that we must focus on a host of things all at the same time. And that's especially true during these times, which are somewhat unusual, in which we live in times in which we all have a host of challenges invading our lives all at the same time. So while I have focused on working with the council in efforts to make Vernon an even better place in which to live and raise a family, I have not forgotten my commitment to do what I can to also make Vernon an environmentally safe place to live. And that leads me to tonight's update on our town's ongoing efforts to find a cost-effective and efficient way to clean up the major environmental scar that Joe Wallace created on the face of our town in the form of his illegal landfill. As a result of number one, the close coordination, the legal contacts, and other valuable resources that Business Administrator Volker has brought to our town by way of his work with the Honorable James Rothschild, the court-appointed receiver of the Wallace property, and B, the Office of the New Jersey Attorney General. And as a result of meetings and discussions that I have personally had with Governor Murphy, our Congressman Josh Gotthammer, and our representative, the Honorable State Senator Steve Urho, about the Wallace illegal landfill. As a result of these efforts, Vernon Township has been successful in obtaining a $100,000 grant from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs for the purpose of hiring a licensed site remediation professional to conduct deep bore testing of the Wallace illegal landfill. These tests will enable us to learn what are the levels of potentially toxic substances that are in the landfill. This is a step that's necessary for us to get a better understanding of the extent of the problem and to formulate a plan to remediate any levels of toxicity to acceptable residential levels. As a necessary step for me as mayor to execute the agreement with the state of New Jersey to accept this $100,000 grant, I need the council's approval by resolution. To gain that approval, I have placed resolution number 22-205 on tonight's agenda. On behalf of the residents of Vernon Township, I want to again thank both Congressman Guyhammer and Senator Urho for being strong advocates on behalf of Vernon Township and for being very helpful in our effort to obtain this funding to test and clean up the illegal Wallace landfill. Moving efforts forward to clean up this illegal Wallace landfill will continue to be one of my key priorities that I will continue to work on with our council. And finally, item 4. Those of you who have paid attention to council meetings over the last few months know that the issue of having some council members attend meetings in person while other council members attend meetings by Zoom has been a continuous issue. While this is essentially an issue for the council to deal with and not an issue that I as mayor am required to resolve, I have been specifically and directly called on by some council members to take an action that will facilitate a solution to this issue. As most, if not all of you are aware, the mayor has the authority to post a law enforcement official in the chamber where the council meetings are being held if he or she deems it appropriate. Council members Shortway and Ferry have on several occasions made requests to me and the council president to post a law enforcement official in the courtroom where our council meetings are held because of the tone of meetings has caused them, as they said, concerns for their safety. Each time that they have discussed this matter with me, I have told them that I did not want to interfere with the council's authority to establish the rules of their council meetings. And therefore, I was hesitant to post a law enforcement official within our courtroom unless requested to do so by the council president. The discussions between the council on this issue over the past several months have revealed 2 things. Number one, it has made it clear to me that the 3 council members that attend meetings in person want council members Shortway and Ferry to attend meetings in person also. And number 2, council members Shortway and Ferry have repeatedly said that they want to attend meetings in person and will do so if a law enforcement official is at the council meetings. As all may have noted, council member Shortway and Ferry again made a specific and direct appeal to me at the last council meeting that I post a law enforcement official at the council meeting so that they could return to the meetings. In response to that specific and direct appeal, I offered a compromise action to the council with the objective of contributing to the achievement of what both group of council members have said that they wanted. That is, for all 5 council members to be physically present at council meetings. Specifically, what I have done is to have a law enforcement official stationed in the lobby outside of the courtroom where our council meetings are held. This compromise action provides the law enforcement presence that council members Shortway and Ferry have repeatedly stated is necessary for them to be physically present at council members, while also respecting the council president's right to determine the rules that will govern what takes place in the chamber where the council meetings are being conducted. 7 days ago, I advised the council of my plans, and I'm pleased to see that this compromise action has tonight led to us having all of our council members physically present at a council meeting for the very first time. It is in months. It is my hope that this compromise action will be a building block that will contribute to the council working better as a group and to the council and the mayor working better as a governmental unit. My actions are motivated by my belief in the quote from the great American author, the disability rights advocate, the political activist and lecturer, Miss Helen Keller. Miss Keller said that alone we can do little, but together we can do a lot. Mr. Council President and council members, those end my formal comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All members of the council have received copies of minutes of our meeting of July 11th, 2022 for our regular meeting. May I have a motion to have those minutes placed on the floor for consideration?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Fury.
I'll
Is there a
second
second? Seconded by Mrs. Fury. Are there any additions, corrections on these minutes? If not, I'll have a roll call, please.
Sure. President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto,
Yes.
motion carries.
I'll ask for a motion to open the meeting to the public. Meeting, this public participation period is limited to 3 minutes on items on the agenda only. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Fury. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Mr. Shortway. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is open to the public for 3 minutes. Per person, on issues regarding the agenda items only. Yes, please step forward. I believe there should be
Good evening. Closer.
no, come close over here.
Oh,
Thank you.
good evening, Deputy Dorothy Edwards. Do you want me to sign in?
Please.
Thank you. While I'm doing that, in regards to the mayor's comments, I'm just curious as to how much additional that's going to cost the taxpayers for each meeting throughout the year to have a police personnel on the outside of the courtroom. Who do I address that question to? Somebody should know the answer, I'd imagine.
I'd have to get that information for you.
Okay. I'd appreciate that. I'd like to know.
Mayor, can we ask the?
I will provide you.
That
Yes, sir.
information, what the cost would be for
I will.
an hourly basis.
I will.
Thank you very much. And speaking to the septic pumping idea to the SCUMA facility, I think that is a good idea. The only thing is, I guess the residents would be on the hook for the additional costs for setup and whatnot that would come with the whole facility being, invented and whatnot for that. So I just want you to keep that in mind when you do your cost analysis over a certain amount of period of time. Highland Lakes is very unusual because they don't have, well, they do have more now year-round residents, but there are quite a few still who are only there during summer. So I don't know how they would treat that aspect of pumping situation. When you were talking about that, it just went back in my mind is, remember years ago when we used to be able to bring our water to the pharmacy in town to get it tested to see if there was any issues with the water? I used to do it every year. How many people here have gotten their well water tested recently?
You're not very much.
No.
Exactly. So maybe, Mr. May, if you don't mind, when you're talking about doing something for the seniors, maybe we could do something townwide where we could have a well water testing week or something.
I had my well tested,
Yes.
the water tested at my house. I had it done 3 years ago. And
3 years ago. Well, a lot could change in 3 years, though.
the guy come in to test my water and he broke the pipe that went to my well tank and he flooded my basement. So I'm gonna take a pass if you have any well testing going on.
Usual circumstances. And I hope he had insurance.
Thank you.
But that was the one thing I was thinking of, because that was a great, I guess the state stepped in and said, well, there's, you have to do certain requirements and you just can't bring it to the pharmacy and they just can't send it to a testing facility. But again, how many people here haven't had their well tested?
The town did that.
To make people well, you have to know what you're consuming is really my point. So I guess that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Edwards.
Right.
Is there anyone else wishes to address the council?
Take your time, Steve.
My back lifted my 109-year-old, 18-year-old out of the bathtub, so I apologize for my slow approach. I don't see it. Oh, I'm sorry, there is one. Steve Dunlop, Williamsville Estates. Comments, first of all, on the sewer pumping. So we should be picking winners and losers. So I think that anybody that wants to apply to be a authorized or licensed vendor should be able to. When you start picking winners and losers, I've seen sometimes untoward things happen. I don't think anyone should have a monopoly on this. Councilman Lynch raised an issue about someone from Highland Lakes contacting the MUA with no response. And then Councilman Fury was quick to jump in and say, I contacted them. I would hope that the council president would remind Councilman Fury that he's not on the MUA and he should not be speaking for the MUA. Which brings me to my comments.
Actually, not what I said. I said Ray Zimmerman contacted me. That's what I said. I got contacted by.
Go back and listen. I think you said eye contact. I spoke with them. You're not accountable. Please, my comments are addressed to you.
I understand.
He shouldn't have anything to say, but if he does, go back and listen to the tape. Before I start my comments, I want to give the Webster Dictionary definition of stupid before anybody gets too upset. Stupid is having or showing a lack of intelligence or common sense. At the last meeting, our mayor advised us that he accepted full responsibility for what happened with the property that was sold in error. But then went on to say that it wasn't costing taxpayers anything because it was money from the sale of abandoned properties, all taxpayer money. And I made this comment at the last meeting. I would simply say that the mayor's comments that the money did not come from taxpayer dollars is laughable. Either he thinks the taxpayers are not very bright, or he lacks the intelligence to understand how ludicrous his comment was. I fear it's the latter. Stupid is, and stupid does. And that comment was indeed stupid. Mayor Burrell added that the township did not suffer any reduction in service in the reduction of our quantity or quality of its communications capability in the Highland Lakes part of town. If true, what is the urgency to buy it back? If we don't need it, I think that was also a ludicrous statement. We did need it. It was being used. He used the excuse, well, maybe it's a good time to buy new equipment. Once again, wanting to spend our money. I don't think he's capable of running this town. I don't think he has the wherewithal to. He's not going to resign. The only way to remove him from his position is a recall, which no one at this point has stepped up to do. But I think the mayor really needs to do some self-reflection because comments like that make him appear not qualified to run our town.
Thank you.
And I hope he will do some self-reflection. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Camilla Dressa Glenwood. I just wanted to say, that wasn't on the agenda, so I don't know what he's talking about right now.
Yes, it was.
The whole talking about
The property,
the property.
yes, there's an ordinance on the agenda tonight for purchase.
Okay, well, I know what stupid means and I don't think her mayor is stupid. Thank you.
Every time I come here, I tell myself, I'm not gonna talk today. I'm not gonna talk. I really do. I try. All right, my name is Sean Parkin. I live up in Barry Lakes. Adding on to the comments that the gentleman before me made, the fact was just mentioned that we decided to post a police officer outside of this room. And in the very same meeting, the mayor's asked how much it does it cost. And he's making decisions without knowing how much it costs to put a policeman out in front. Those are my tax dollars he's spending. Just make decisions and he doesn't look to see how much it is. A businessman looks to see how much things are. All right, I'm sorry. That's a reflection on the quality of work he does. All right. I don't dislike the mayor. I've never met the mayor. Okay, I don't have any grudge against him. I just see the same pattern of mistakes week after week, and I keep hearing these problems. Now, we're going to buy back the property tonight for $25,000. Who is going to reimburse the town, the taxpayers? I want my $15,000 and I want somebody to give it to us. Okay, I'm not letting this slide. Okay, I'm not letting it slide, all right? I'm not. I'm sorry I'm getting upset, but you're stealing from us. Okay, this isn't a shell game. You got 3 cups on the table and a ball is under one and you got to guess where the money is. We're not doing that here. $15,000 is owed to the taxpayers of Vernon. And who's going to pay for it? Sorry, I'm upset. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Do we have anybody in the skybox?
Yes. Jesse Palladini.
Mrs. Palladini?
Good evening. I want to reiterate everything that Steve Dunlop said. I agree with him 100%. This mayor is not fit to run the town. And yes, I agree with Sean Clarkin. He is stealing from us, the taxpayers. Now, there's a very simple solution for these 2 lots that the mayor allegedly sold in error. And that solution is that all of the people involved, the business administrator, the mayor, the tax assessor, the tax collector, whoever was negligent, because the business administrator was informed about it almost 2 months in advance. These individuals have insurance policies. They have errors and omissions, insurance policies. They are indemnified. Let the $35,000 come from them. It's not 15,000. It's the 8,500 that they sold the properties for. Now they're going to buy it back for 2,500. We paid $10,000 for an investigation. We don't know what that investigation is going to lead to. Are there going to be more legal expenses? Let the money come from these individuals who made this mistake. Stop stealing from taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Bill.
Bill?
Good evening, everybody. I just got a couple of things. Degenerating the mayor accomplishes nothing except to make yourself small. And really about the cost of a plainclothes cop or you know, an officer working for the town. What is the worth of the peace of mind worth? Last meeting, Mr. Lynch and Mr. Rizzuto were acting like Harry Callahan, that they were going to protect everybody. This is an era of A-15s, gentlemen. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Ann Larson.
Good evening. Am I on? Do you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, hi. So I have a couple comments actually in reference to the pumping of this, of the septics by I guess a sanctioned pumper and buying trucks and making a station for the MUA to accept this waste. Why do we keep digging ourselves deeper
Whoa,
and deeper?
whoa, excuse me.
Yes.
I don't think anybody said we're buying trucks. was
Someone
a
mentioned the
question
possibility.
that I
Did they buy
asked.
truck? I'm just saying, I get it. Okay, but you know what? These are not the people we have competence in. No further spending on the MEA should come out of our pockets, because all you do when you assign such a privilege to one vendor is it just reeks of corruption. Okay, there's no cost.
Again, I'm sorry, Mrs. Larson. This is just in the talking stage.
Well, I'm talking
And
too.
I understand that. And I just want to, but I don't think anybody up here talked about giving any particular hauler sole responsibility
Right.
for the community.
That
Quite
would be great.
frankly, I think Mr. Shortway used a number of 6, if I'm mistaken.
Correct.
And, that might not be enough. I know Mr.
It may not be, but it sounds like
Also
price
mentioned-
fixing could occur.
I'm sorry?
It sounds like price fixing could occur. Okay,
No, it's not.
okay.
But again, this is.
I'm glad to hear
something
it fleshed out. I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
glad to hear it fleshed out that way. Because the truth is that, everything this municipality puts their hands on falls into debris, okay? There hasn't been anything well executed. And the fact that they consider themselves competent enough to consider such a large contract is just mind-boggling. We can't get past the sale of the property. The pump track that was authorized for what, $150,000 is now over $1 million. Let's just stop the spending. These people don't have what it takes to objectify how to spend money. They just don't get it. So I'm glad you're fleshing it out. I thank you for that, because a quick decision on this administration's behalf is a bad thing for the township. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Peg DeStassi.
Ms. DeStassi?
Hi, how's everybody?
Fine, thank you.
First, I would like to thank the mayor for completing his campaign promise to address the Wallace property, and also Chuck. And I am in support, of course, of the 22-205 to do the deep bore testing, so we can finally be rid of the chemicals that are absolutely polluting our water aquifer for the whole town. But at the same time, I have to say, you took one step forward, Mayor, but another step back. Why did you cave in and give Shortway and Fury the cop they requested? It's totally ridiculous. And the cost of this to the township should not be allowed. Now, on the discussion with the septic, I would like to know why the MUA representative, Kristen Wheaton, and the Environmental Commission were not invited to participate, as we've been working on this for over 2 years. And Shortway and Fury know it. I think it was a campaign move by Fury to make it seem like he's coming up with something new. This is an old idea that was originally discussed 2.5 years ago on the committee on saving the MUA. And it's been being worked on since then.
I
Yes.
asked that this be placed on the agenda. I requested that Mr.
Okay.
Shortway and Mr. Fury present this past information as council president trying to direct the township and its policies in an area that we sorely need some help. I felt that this type of action and a potential use of the areas of where the community, members of the community have to have a service performed, that perhaps the township might be able to benefit from that service. As I said earlier.
Exactly, and that is the point.
We're just in the talking stage on this. I don't expect this to happen overnight.
No, it's far beyond that, Pat. It's far beyond that. It's been worked on extensively by the Environmental Commission and by Kristen Wheaton on the MUA. And I don't understand why the MUA or the Environmental Commission were not included in this discussion.
Because as far as I'm concerned, I wanted to get the council's feeling on this and bring it to the public.
Yeah, but you had it represented by Mike Fury as if he's the know-it-all. And that's not, it wasn't presented that way.
Well, I think Mike Fury, Mr. Fury, has had some experience in this area, and if he can, and if the council can benefit from his knowledge, so be it. But I think what we're looking at is potential action that's being considered by the township. And if other areas of the other committees within the township, other bodies in the township governing area are beginning to look at this, then perhaps at some point I'll ask that they join us, and let's see if we can't bring this all together and come up with some ideas that we can present to the public. Because something like this is going to have to be approved, accepted by the public. Otherwise, we're going to be accused of jamming things down people's throats or demanding it. I think the public needs to be educated. We all know we have this problem.
Exactly.
If we can
Exactly, and that's,
if we can use a service that has to periodically be performed on a resident's property, and the results of that service can be put into the system, to go to its SCUMA, then let's see if we can't handle it, and let's see if we can do it and get a benefit out of that.
see, Pat, that's what we've been working on for 2 years.
Great.
Extensively with the Environmental Commission. And that's why I don't understand why we were not included and why Shortway and Fury did not say the Environmental Commission has been involved. We are approaching it from the environmental aspect as well as how do we take care of everybody in town.
Right. Mrs.
It's been
Estaci,
an extensive project.
I believe you, but this has to ultimately come before the council, okay? And was for some type of action. But before it does, I wanted to test the waters. I wanted to see what the council members think about it. It seems to me, from the discussions that we have a unanimous agreement on the purpose of trying to do this. How we do it might present some problems, but those are the, as Mr. Shortway said earlier, the devil's in the details. Let's see if we can't do it. At those meetings, certainly we'll be glad to hear your comments, what's been done, any areas where you feel it should be addressed. But, please give us an opportunity to let this be handled in what I consider to be in a professional manner.
Well,
Will you
I
go
accept
along
your
with me?
explanation, but
Thank
I
you.
do ask that in the future you include the other committees. Maybe if you had extended it out to the other committees, you would have known we've been working on this, especially the MUA. I mean, of all the people you're discussing them, they
I
should
know.
be here.
I knew that they were working on this, but again, I wanted, something like this is going to require township acceptance. And it's going to require the approval of the council.
And we have been working on a way for that to happen.
And I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else?
No. No.
Hi, my name's Carl Contino. I'm from Vernon proper over in Cedar Ridge. I agree with Ms. DeStassi. I'm in support of ordinance 22-205. And I want to thank the mayor for his work on fulfilling, again, a campaign promise to clean up the Wallace property. Also, I want to note that I've been to commissioner meetings. I'm sure most of you have, and there are police officers stationed outside commissioner meetings. I understand that's also a much bigger platform. So I see the discourse, but I think we are the largest municipality in Sussex County, and I've seen meetings get relatively hostile. So I understand the logic of having an off-duty officer outside of the, I don't know if they're off-duty, but an officer outside of the. Cammy, can you turn that off? I'm sorry. Also, and I'm strongly in favor of what you were saying about septic systems and having a, what's it called again, a pumping station? Or a, what's it called?
Dedicated hauling service, hauling transfer station.
I think that's a great idea because I know many people that don't realize that their septics need to be pumped. I've heard many people say, oh, I haven't had my septic pumped in 15 years. It's working so well. So having an ordinance in place to make sure you have to have your septic pumped every 5 years, I think that's a really good idea. Great use of our sewer system. And I want to commend the town council for working together on such a great initiative. And also I want to ask, do we have any idea of where this station, if it's a station, I might have the idea wrong, where that would be, where the trucks would be discharging the waste into the septic?
It'd be the pump station 2, which is off Sand Hill Road.
Off Sand Hill Road. Okay, and not the one, is that a pump station over by the, it used to be a little brown church, now it's a little white church in McAfee?
There's a pump station 3 is right off of 94.
Mhm.
And then pump station 1 is by the pump track.
So it would be a pump station 2 over on Sand Hill Road, most likely?
That's the one that's being rebuilt. That there's plans to rebuild it.
Okay, that was everything I had to ask. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. How is everyone this evening? Rich Carson, Sussex. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying well done on the $100,000 grant to investigate the landfill. Long overdue, but at the end of the day, well done. I just have a brief comment to make and then something maybe that Marcy can distribute to the rest of the councilmen. I've been listening to these meetings and when I've been able to physically come to the meetings. And the one thing I've noticed, okay, there's some disagreements now and then. And people sometimes don't get everything they want, and sometimes people get a little disappointed in the result of their concern. But the one thing I've noticed when I'm here is that I would say just about all of us are in the AARP crowd. Okay? I don't see us creating too much of a threat, if any threat at all. And then conversely, I've seen the younger folks here. They come up, they voice their opinion. I haven't heard one hostile comment from them. Well, at least all year. So it kind of confuses me as to why we need to all of a sudden have police security at our council meetings. And I'll tell you also, I work in rough ghetto, urban areas. Worst places in this state. And I don't see or experience half the nonsense that goes on here. I really don't. And I've worked in those areas for well over 40 years. Be that as it may, last week also, Harry, I don't mean to bring up one of your websites or your wife's website, but I'll just keep it to the point. Your wife stated that the Faulkner Act requires a sergeant at arms at the council meetings. This is not true. And if it is true, and I've been unable to find anything, I'd like to see documentation of that. Now, finally, seeing progress with your meeting. Security is such a concern here that a survey was done last week and
Can we hold this until 5 minutes at the end? 3 minutes are up.
okay.
Thank you.
All I was gonna do was just ask Marcy to distribute this.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
That's all. Thank you.
is there anyone else?
Thank you. Thanks.
I'll make a motion to close the floor to public comments.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Schultz. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I don't want it.
Moving to the consent agenda. Resolution 22-196, renewal of inactive liquor license TZ Holdings Company LLC requiring special ruling in the Township of Vernon for 2022-2023 licensing term. Resolution 22-197, renewal of inactive liquor license. JD Vernon Lodge and Inn LLC requiring special ruling in the Township of Vernon for the 2022-23 licensing term. As I recall, these two resolutions were tabled the last meeting. Is there may I have a motion to have the motion 22-196 picked up from the table for discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Mr. Lynch,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Shortwood. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to place resolution 22-196 on the floor for discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion again made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Roll call vote.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. The, I guess can we move on to the next one? 22-197.
I think.
I'm sorry.
On that, we can talk on that. Fine,
Yeah.
discuss.
Actually, we probably jumped it a little bit.
Yeah. We have to vote to pull it off the
Let's
consent
see.
agenda?
We did.
first? Oh, we did. Okay.
We did. Is there any comments on this?
I voted to find out some more information, and I did find out the information that I needed for my decision. I'd like to make a motion that we vote in the affirmative for this resolution.
Anyone else?
I'm going to take the position. They've had it inactive in their pocket for a number of years. We've received an email as we came in tonight, apparently nullifying their plans that they've been telling us for the last 2 years. These liquor licenses need to be out in the public and being used. They own it. They can sell it or they can use it. It's not fair to the residents in this town. We hear it all the time that they want additional liquor license. You can't because of the population. I believe it's one for every 3,000. These are business opportunities and people should not be buying them and holding them for an unreasonable amount of time. I feel this time it's unreasonable.
Yes,
I also, we just received this email today, and one of the things that we wanted to have happen was to get more information on what the plans are. And from reading the email, it doesn't say much.
Okay.
So.
Ms. Boucher?
I understand why a business owner might not want to share all their business plans in public. They might have contracts that are being negotiated or other things, partners. So I totally understand that. I'm not comfortable voting or making a decision that could potentially harm a Vernon resident and a Vernon business owner. People purchased these licenses at great expense, and yes, I understand they're sitting here, but if we don't pass a resolution, they could potentially lose it. They could potentially lose that investment, and I'm not comfortable causing a business owner to lose such a large investment, and there's no guarantee that that license will come back to Vernon. So I'm not in favor of withholding that resolution.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Now I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Sure.
I think you need a second on.
I'm sorry, Brian made a motion, yes.
Second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mrs. Butcher.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
No.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
No,
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 22-197. This particular, Madam Mayor, I have a motion to place this on the floor for discussion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mrs. Bashiri. I believe this particular license is tied to the property.
Yeah.
And information we've all received indicates it's in the process of some type of transfer of ownership. But I think it's contingent upon the passage of this ordinance, so it becomes a question of how we want to handle it. Comments?
I was satisfied with what
Okay.
emails that we received.
All right,
I'll echo what I said before. I don't think we should stand in the way of
okay. Mr. Shortway?
Marcy, were any proofs received that this is actually in transaction?
Well, just the email that I
Yes,
received.
but no proofs.
No,
And if there's no one here to present what their plans are.
them to come in person, but they're not in New Jersey, so.
Okay.
Mr. Lynch?
I have nothing.
Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes.
I think you need a motion too.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to accept discussion.
I'll second that.
no, that was the motion to place it on the floor.
And I need a motion to vote.
Sorry. Roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes,
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving to the rest of the remaining items. Resolution 22-199 is part of the consent agenda. If you have any comments, if you'd like it separated, please let me know and I can have them moved out. Refund overpayment, block 460, lot -16, Johanna Bloomfield. Resolution 22-200, refund overpayment, block 282, lot 29, Mary Lou Tompkins. Resolution 22-201, chapter 159, resolution requesting approval of revenue and appropriation amending the 2022 budget as a revenue and appropriation of $38,000.
I do have a questions regarding the 201, 202, 203. So
Okay, you'd like to separate?
Yeah.
Okay, we can, that resolution will be separated in 203. Resolution 22-204, resolution authorizing fireworks to be displayed on August 2022 with rain date of August 2022 within the township of Vernon. Resolution 22-205, a resolution authorizing acceptance of grant funds from the state of New Jersey, Department of Community Affairs for deep core testing of the landfill. Resolution 22-206, resolution authorizing emergency procurement of fuel for daily operations of the township of Vernon.
I have a question.
Okay, great. Resolution 22-207, resolution authorizing leasing of certain vehicles for the Department of Police through Sourcewell National Cooperative, number 060618-ESA through Enterprise Fleet Management Service, quote number 6595889-1, one carbonized gray metallic. Resolution 22-208, a resolution of the township, I'm sorry, that one we omitted.
Yeah.
With the exception of the ones noted, resolutions 2201, 202, 203, and 206. Can I have a motion to place them on the floor for passage?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr.
Fury.
Fury. Any questions or comments on me? If not, I'll ask for a roll call.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to the three that were separated at the request of Ms. Fury. Number 22-201. A common question. on all
They're,
the-
they're common, yeah, so we can
Okay.
bunch them together.
Don, I do
Twenty-
have,
I'm-
no.
I'm on here. Yeah, just this might be clarifying what you might be bringing up. But I realize in the resolutions that they all say trail feasibility study and that's not accurate. So if you want, I can tell you which one's which, or we
Please.
can amend them and do them next time.
Yeah, I mean, that was my question. What are these for? Where will the funds be used? So yeah, if you could explain. So
Right.
none of them should say trail field
No,
feasibility?
so the first one, for $38,000, that's for the Highlands feasibility for trails study. The second one for $27,500, that is for stormwater management, Highlands stormwater management. And for the third 15,000, that one is for Highlands farmland preservation. These are things that we have our township planner working on. To do information, things in the background and stuff, and this is the money that's used for that.
So, okay, so this money will be used to pay our township planner.
To do that, yes, to do things that are associated with those three items, those specific
Okay.
three items.
So will this money be enough to complete these three items? Like, is the 38,000 enough for the trail feasibility study? Is the 27,000 enough for the stormwater management, or are there other municipal funds that will be used?
So usually when the township requests funding like this, they do have a set dollar amount in mind. So they usually work with the township planner to reach a dollar amount that, is reasonable. And then the planner would go through and charge accordingly. It should not be going above those specific line items.
So no additional taxpayer dollars are used for these studies, just grant money.
So the grant money is for these studies, right?
Yes.
So there's nothing to state that that the planner couldn't spend outside of that. Like these chapter 159s allow us to spend this money though, right? So in order for us to
Yes.
spend any of this $38,000 from the first one, we have to
Mhm.
approve it and then put it into the budget so we can use that funding.
Okay.
Yes, but the question then presupposes, should the amount not be enough? It does require the planner to come back to us for i.e. somewhat of a change order or request
Yeah.
for additional funds.
In this case, no.
So can we limit?
No,
it?
because it runs through the township. The township has a township planner line item in two
Mhm.
areas of the township budget. So no, if they were working outside of this, it does not, it, you know,
It would just come from the budget that we've already set aside. for
it's
the
already
township
passed,
planner.
yes.
I
Right.
understand. Okay.
I mean, I can tell you just for reference, we do have Highlands grants that have been, you know, we've been working on for years upon years, right? And we have not run out of that money yet. So if that gives you any sort of reference.
Okay.
Thank you.
So can we vote on these separately?
Resolution 22-201. May I have a motion to place that on the floor for consideration?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Fury,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Shortwood. Are there any questions, comments on this, further discussion? Roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri,
So this is the True Trail feasibility study 22-201. No.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
No.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
I'm gonna withhold voting on this because this is a chapter 159, which is additional funds that are being given to the township. And I think we need to have a little more information on this, because I'm not aware of why we would be turning funds down unless it's because we are putting ourselves in a position where by accepting it, we are then asking ourselves or requiring of ourselves to spend additional funds later on, which we may or may not have. So I'm going to hold off on this. Resolution 22-202. A resolution. May I have a motion to place this on the floor for?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Fury. Again, is there any questions or comments on this? This is on stormwater management. Not roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes,
Carries.
thank you. Resolution 22-203. Resolution requesting approval of the revenue appropriations amending the 2022 budget. And this is on the Highlands Farm Preservation. May I have a motion to place this on the floor for consideration?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Shortway?
No,
I'm sorry,
Fury.
Mr. Fury?
I'll second it. Don.
Seconded by Mr. Shortway. Any questions or comments on this?
I guess I do. So you have this is for Highlands Farmland. So what's the end result or what are we looking for when we do this study? Do you know what that would be, Danelle?
I do not. I did not handle these grants. I was just
Oh,
made aware
Chuck
that we
knows.
were.
Chuck's raising his hand. Sorry,
Okay.
Janelle. Didn't mean to cut you off. Chuck's raising his hand. So what's the end game here? Like what's the,
The end game here is to come up with a plan on how you would decide on what land would be permanently preserved. So, I mean, I think you've probably traveled somewhere in Sussex County where you've seen the big sign on a farm, et cetera.
Okay.
That's farmland preservation.
okay, and that would,
That has to be approved by the state.
and we would have to use our open space funds to purchase that?
It's not that we have to purchase anything, it's just
Okay, it's just,
on how we would do it.
gotcha. Okay. Okay, so that's what this is,
Yeah, the state
a study of
hiring that.
properties within Vernon to determine if they meet the criteria for that.
How we would select them.
Yeah.
I would,
And I spoke to Jessica about this last week, and she said it'll probably be ready September
Okay,
presentation. She's got to go to take it to the land use board first.
okay,
Okay,
okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch.
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And resolution 22-206, a resolution authorizing emergency procurement of fuel for daily operations of the township of Vernon. May I have a motion to place this on the,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
motion made by Mr. Shortway.
Mr. Fury.
Mr. Fury. Sorry. And seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Any comments or questions on this?
You know what I'm gonna ask. So why are we doing this, Chuck?
We are doing it, actually, we didn't appropriate quite as much as we probably should have with the temporary storage tanks prior to those being built. Plus, we also had an issue with the new tanks where there was a couple of hiccups with the way they were functioning. So for that day or those days, we couldn't use them. We had the temporary supply on hand. So if any of our township vehicles needed fuel, gasoline, or diesel, it would be there. We haven't gotten a delivery from this temporary fuel storage since probably 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And we will not get any others because we've kind of ironed this out.
Okay, so this is
Money to cover
going back.
already purchased, yes.
So the hiccups have been resolved.
We believe so, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
May I have roll call, please?
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving to the ordinances. Ordinance 22-15. The ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 5 of the Municipal Code, Township of Vernon. So, may I have a motion to place this on the floor? Considering,
Make that motion.
motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. This is a second reading on this, and it is for the change.
It's the first reading.
First reading?
It was tabled
Table the last time.
last meeting.
Okay, then I apologize. I forgot the table. We're gonna have to have a motion to bring this off the.
I'll make that motion to place it on the table.
And who voted in the affirmative on this last meeting? Do you remember?
Voted in the affirmative.
Or-
Never.
I did.
The pay table.
Oh,
I think it was Mr. Lynch's.
Mr. Lynch?
yeah, it was.
Okay,
You
all right.
want
Hey,
details.
I got all I needed during the last 2 weeks.
motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. So, motion is now on the table and it's for first reading.
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion to accept, to place this ordinance on the table? No, we have, this was taken off the table.
Yeah.
So now we have to open it.
Open it. Okay. I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Lynch. Just an introduction, so may I have a roll call?
Yes, Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
No.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
No.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion.
Ordinance, this is
14. Yep.
There we go. 22-14, an ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, authorizing the purchase of real property located at block 432, lot 85, block 432, lot 63 on the tax map of the township of Vernon. They have a motion to place this on the floor for consideration.
I'll make a motion.
Motion is made. Mr. Bucieri, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Shortwood. May I have the motion to open the floor for public hearing on ordinance 22-14?
I'll make a,
I'll second that.
Second made by Mrs. Bucieri, seconded by Mr. Lynch. May I have a roll?
Vice President Bucieri,
yes.
Councilmember Fury,
No.
To open the floor to the public?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion, the floor is open to the public to address ordinance 22-14. Anybody wishing to make comment, please approach the podium and let us have your comments. Is there anything from the skybox?
Yes, Jesse Palladini.
Palladini?
First of all, I want to ask if Mike Fury should even be voting on this or considering it when he worked for the radio station that bought this property. And he had a talk show, and this is a personal friend of his. So should he even, and that's in the official meeting minutes, by the way, should he even be voting on this, number one? Number two, again, it would be a slap in the face to take $35,000 taxpayer money, which is taxpayer money, Mayor, wherever you claim you got it from, and make taxpayers pay for this. This is what they are insured for. So whatever your investigative report says, whoever is responsible for this having happened should be paying every dime of it from their insurance. Thank you. Oh, and you should vote no on the taxpayers paying this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I didn't see it. I don't have to sign it again, right? Okay. There was a mistake made. There was an email that was neglected to be seen. People have to be held accountable. If there is an insurance policy, if people have, as a real estate agent, I carry errors and omissions insurance. Every year I pay it. And if I hurt somebody's property, or if I hurt them and I cause them harm financially or some other way, this policy covers it for me, okay? There were mistakes made here. And if we turn a blind eye to these mistakes, there's going to be more mistakes and more mistakes and more mistakes. We have to hold somebody accountable, all right? And that's just the way business is. That's the way the government should be. Whether the national government or the state government hold people accountable, we need to start here, holding the people that we elect accountable. And that's just it. Taxpayers should not be buying back this property. The mayor should be put in a difficult position where he's got to squirm and scream and make another deal. As Vernon property taxpayers, this is a little bit, this is a very gray area to bring up, but this is a Vernon citizen who owns a radio station called Vernon FM, and he's sticking it to us. He's sticking it to us. And if he's Mike's friend or Harry's friend or the mayor's friend or my friend, it doesn't matter. He's sticking it to the citizens of Vernon. And I personally don't know if I want to listen to his radio station, which I do listen to. All right. Somebody has to be held accountable. Making us buy this back is the easy way out. We're letting the mayor off the hook. In 60 or 90 days, no one's even going to be talking about this, and the mayor skated through. It's not right. The taxpayers have a right to say no. And somebody's got to be held accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, Doreen Edwards. So I agree with what Sean had to say. I agree with Jesse Palladini. So many times we've been told we have to hire good people here in the township and we have to pay the money for these people. Well, we have to hold them accountable. It works both ways. I honestly am getting priced out of Vernon. It used to be okay to make the quarterly tax payments, but now it's not okay. And I'm really getting tired of just people just saying, oh, well, if we have errors and omissions, then use it. If not, why do we have it? Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Not, I'll ask for a motion.
If I could just add for here one thing. Nobody mentioned it on the bills list, but I understand there is a $4,762
This is not on this.
Not on.
It's not on, excuse me, Hat.
related to this ordinance.
It's the hearing on the ordinance.
$4,762 legal fees
Oh,
to sell the property. Another cost that the mayor didn't mention, and wasn't mentioned in the numbers that you paid.
thank you.
Just raising that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I would like all citizens to come up here and address the council from the podium and not from the back of the room. We would not want to make a practice of that.
I'm sure we won't.
Okay,
I do have some hands up.
I make a motion, we close public comment?
I have,
There's somebody else.
I have some hands up. No. I have Bill.
Mr. Duressa.
Everyone is saying how we should hold everyone accountable. The accountability is in the ballot box. It's very simple. We get an election coming up. If you don't like what was done, then you vote the guy out. And how simple is that? You know?
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else?
Yes, Peg DeStacy.
Mr. Stassi.
Hi, I think this should be tabled until after we have the results of the study that was done to determine exactly what did happen, then present it to the E&O for them to decide if they're going to cover it. And if not, it should come out of the people's pockets who made the mistake. That's all. Oh, one additional thing. When I was employed for many years, I had E&O insurance, and that covered me if I did make a mistake. Thank God I didn't have to use it, but they should use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishes to address the council?
I don't have any other hands up.
May I have a motion to close?
I'll make a
the meeting?
motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Lynch. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion 22-14 is on the floor. Does anyone have any comments on it? May I have a motion? I believe the motion has been made. Is there, may I have a roll call, please?
Vice President Bucieri.
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch.
No.
Councilmember Shortway.
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Fury. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Shortway. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Meeting is open to the public for 5 minutes on any issue they wish to address the council on. So. Is there any wish, anybody will come forward? Not?
Just a quick question.
Certainly.
Thank you, Doreen Edwards. So what you just voted on that last, thing was that to purchase that piece of property back? And it was approved.
Anyone else?
I have Bill.
Bill, Mr. DeResta?
Question is, what happened to the resolution for the marijuana cannabis?
The individuals, principals of the company were not able to make the presentation and asked that it be withdrawn.
So is that going to be scheduled for the next
It'll
council
be
meeting?
scheduled. Right now, it's scheduled for the next meeting in August, and unless they ask that it be withdrawn.
I'm interested for us to get a vote on a retail establishment. We've already come to grips with the cultivation, and we can use the money from a retail operation. I went to Patterson. It's a moneymaker. Gentlemen and ladies, this is a real moneymaker for our town. And you need to get this thing done. That's it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
I have Jesse Palladini.
Palladini?
Thank you, Mr. Lynch, but I am so disgusted that the rest of you voted to take taxpayer money to pay for this rather than the insurance policies from the people involved. I'm going to read a statement tonight. On January 26th, during working hours, Township Clerk Marcy Giantasio filed an Oprah request with Montvale Township seeking information on Vernon resident and Montvale police officer Walter Marsico. Mr. Marsico is involved in a Vernon zoning issue. Councilman Harry Shortway went to Montvale Police and filed bogus internal affairs complaints against Officer Marsico and called for an investigation. On March 2nd, Montvale Police wrote to Harry Shortway and said, quote, "The investigation and a review of all information failed to disclose sufficient evidence to clearly prove or disprove your allegations. Yet, Giantasio saw fit to act as a political operative and gave what she got from Montvale to zoning officer Allison LaRocca and business administrator Chuck Voker. She told this to me and also admitted it to Mr. Marsico in her official township email, making all of these documents Vernon government records. Then on April 25th, after receiving the information from Marcy Giantasio, Voker interrupted Mr. Marsico during public comment period and blurted out a false and slanderous statement about Mr. Marsico. Shockingly, Marcy Giantasio put that false and slanderous statement in the official meeting minutes of the Vernon Township Council. Giantasio claims she did nothing wrong and merely put in a personal Oprah request. That's not what was the wrongdoing. What was the wrongdoing was when she then turned it over to LaRocca Edwards and turned it into a Vernon government and used her official title and official email address to exchange correspondence about it with Mr. Marsico and made them government records as well. Then she put that slanderous statement into the minutes that she created. Acting as a political operative, she initiated the situation, made it part of the government records, and then part of the official government minutes. A false and slanderous public statement resulted, and Marcy then put that false and slanderous information into her minutes. If you think this is not a problem, you need to hear what the state and what other municipal clerks think. This kind of unethical, inappropriate political assault on township residents cannot be tolerated by an employee who acts as a political operative when she is supposed to protect the governing body from liability and also serve the public. Remember the Carl Contino Oprah she immediately released, which was an exempt and deliberative document that said right in the first paragraph, give this to your township attorney. This kind of thing has to stop. We have political operatives in our municipal center, and this has to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Paladino.
Hi, Camilla Duressa, Glenwood. I remember when Mr. M, or I don't know how to say his last name, was here. He came to the council meeting 3 times and he was yelling at you guys over there, and I didn't feel safe. And now we have an officer outside because of that person. And these people are, like, the person who just spoke was talking about that guy, right? So now we have an officer protecting us for the guy they're trying to protect, or I don't understand what's going on. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I have Bill.
Mr. DeResta,
He spoke.
did you, on this,
He spoke.
I have
He
Bill.
spoke.
I'm
He said he was in Patterson. He said-
I'm sorry, that's right. Only one bite at the apple, Mr. DeResta.
Sorry, Mr. DeResta. I don't have any other hands
I'll
up.
make a motion that we close the floor. to
Motion
comment.
made to close the floor to the public,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council comments.
The only comment I have to, just 2 comments. I want to thank, and I also want to thank Town Council President Rizzuto for, placing the officer in the lobby. The only statement I really have to say is there really is no cost for public safety. And there shouldn't be any cost placed on public safety. The other issue I want to thank the mayor and the council for all the hard work that was done on securing the $100,000 grant. I did speak to the DEP today, and I'm pretty encouraged to hear from them that they're very engaged in the topic, and they are following it very closely. They were very well aware of what we're doing, and I want to thank Senator Oroho, Josh Gottheimer, the mayor, and all his work, and all the council members to make this a reality. And hopefully it will give us the information that we need to hopefully eventually resolve the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sherwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say ditto on what Mike's had to say as thanking people for helping us in the fine work that was done, as he mentioned. I want to add to Marcy, I think you're doing a great job. Keep it up, and I have full confidence in what you do for us,
Thank
and how you help us. So thank you very much.
Thank you too, Marcy. I do want to mention that too. You're doing an excellent job, and I 100% support your efforts.
Mr. Lynch.
Thank you, Council President. I was installed as a council member in January, and in January, I reached out to Congressman Gottheimer's office to ask him for grant opportunities for the fire service here in Vernon Township. The town has provided Congressman Gottheimer with an office for constituency service here in Vernon Township. And I've sent 3 emails to his office, and I keep getting back, we will be with you in a moment, we'll get back to you. They gave me a very brief link.
Mr. Clark.
You gotta open those doors.
Mr. Lynch, please. Please leave the door
Talking.
Thank you.
And the cop isn't stopping him from doing that.
I don't know. Maybe the cop isn't aware.
Good thing the cop is here, huh? I know that we have this congressman in our building, and I've asked him for grant opportunities. See him giving out participation trophies at every chance he can get. And this month, on August 1st, I received an email with a grant opportunity for firefighter turnout gear. Had 11 days to file this grant. 11 days, 8 months, been asking, and I get an email that says you have 11 days to file this grant. In the government, you can't even walk down the hall in 11 days. I think that we need to send a letter to Congressman Gottheimer and tell him that we need to know when these grant opportunities are available in a timely manner. You know, getting a participation trophy is nice, but getting $600,000 for turnout gear is even better. Okay, last meeting, the mayor had made it well known that he's going to pick and choose what resolutions he's going to follow in Vernon Township. He also made that decision to honor 2 council members who decided that they wanted to have the police officer here. If the mayor is going to not follow the council's vote on resolutions, then why are we doing resolutions? Are we going to have to, is my time up?
No, you don't,
Okay.
you don't have.
I didn't get set, Brian. It's told that your time was up.
I just don't know what we're gonna do going forward, because I think that that is a constitutional crisis here in Vernon Township. That the mayor just says, I am not going to pay attention to that resolution. And I'm going to do what I want to do. This is not a kingdom. And I'm sorry, I find the mayor to be a good man. I think that what you did last meeting was abhorrent to Vernon Township. I think you changed. And I'm sorry to say that there's a lot of people disappointed in someone that is a mayor that says, well, I'm not going to pay attention to that resolution. So that's all I got right now.
Thank you.
I'm too upset to keep talking.
Mr. Fury.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly comment and reiterate just the congratulations that the mayor had extended to Chief Young on the recognition that he's achieved. We are very fortunate to have him. So that's definitely good news. I too got that email about the fire turnout gear, the grant opportunities. So I did forward that on to the mayor, and hopefully we can put together that application. It is a really short time period. I totally understand that. It would be much better if we had a longer heads up to a grant opportunity like that. I understand that completing a grant is not easy. It's time consuming and could require different expertise. So hopefully we are able to apply for that. And if maybe at some point the mayor could give us an update on grants that we might have applied for or that we're eligible to, going forward, that would be, I think, helpful for us to know, because we get those emails about the opportunities, but we don't necessarily always know if it's appropriate for our township or if you've applied or the status. So I think, going forward, when you have those things come up, getting an update would be helpful for the community and for the council.
Just to let you know on that one, I did reply back to you and with the entire council indicating that we had already received that notification some months before, and then we were already working on it.
Okay. Oh, I didn't.
Exactly.
Receive it months before. Okay. I thought you received it the same time we did.
No.
I didn't get.
I'm not exactly sure why you just received that.
Mhm.
We had received that and we've been working on that.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I responded back to the entire council.
Yeah, I did
Just
get
take a
that.
close look on the email. You'll see I did in the.
Well, I believe you did, but you
I
know,
don't think you put the date that you'd gotten it earlier, though, that.
Yeah, okay.
Receipt, maybe you did and I didn't read it. I'll have to go back, but I appreciate,
I was under the understanding that this was the first time that you received.
yeah, that's how I took it too. So I'm glad to hear that you had more.
No,
I'm glad to hear that, because it is, it's a time consuming thing to apply for a grant, and it is an opportunity for a large amount of money to our fire department, which is very important. We value our volunteers. We want them to have good equipment. So that's good to know that you had that heads up.
I was working on that specifically, Charles.
I was told that it was being worked on with Lou Tosto and the fire chiefs. I saw Lou today. He said he is not working on it. So I'm following up with the chiefs and the commissioner.
Okay, all right.
Maybe we could get an update then, offline. That would be great for us. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I think that's all the comments that I had. Thank you.
thank you. It's always good to shake up the federal politicians.
The election year.
I received a notification from Jersey Central Power and Light dated August 3rd. I just wanted to present this to the public. They are going to be having a mobilization of their routine helicopter patrols. These patrols are anticipated to take approximately 1 week to complete, depending, of course, on weather. It's a visual inspection of the structures and conductors associated with all the transmission lines in the area. The helicopters are Hilo Air. It's a blue and white Bell 206, tail number N894HA. And the reason I bring this up is because they're going to sometimes come in a little bit low. And this will start August 11th and should be completed again, depending upon weather, by August 18th. So I'm going to give this to our clerk. You can give it to the mayor and this administrator. They can, have it in case any questions are brought to their attention. With that, I really have nothing else to say. We have a heavy agenda this evening and I want to move on.
Can we make a motion to go into executive session?
Yeah,
motion to adjourn the public's.
But you have to,
I'll make a motion to adjourn the public portion of this meeting.
I'll second that.
motion made by Mr. Lynch, seconded by Mr. Fury. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Can we have a motion to move to executive session, which was recessed earlier?
I'll make a motion that we move into executive session that we recessed earlier.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Shortway, seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, motion